Hello everybody, this is Shane with Shane's Books and Review. Today we're going to be talking about The Sign of the Four, also known apparently as The Sign of Four, by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Now, I also need to address something up front that I don't necessarily agree with, and I'm not necessarily going to defend either. The mentality about race in the 1800s is a lot different than what it should be today. I'm not saying everybody sees it the same way that I don't see it, but it is what it is. But I have to give Conan Doyle a little bit of credit here, because instead of falling to the same language that was used in America, he didn't do that, thankfully. Some of the descriptions are certainly slanderous in nature of people that just aren't Caucasian. And to be quite frank about it, though, I think that if Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was alive today and was writing the Sherlock mysteries and novels and short stories, that the language he would choose to use would not be the same language that he used in the 1800s. I do think that he was such a caliber of a person that if the climates were the same then as they are now, that he would have used different descriptors in his novels. It's unfortunate, but it is dated because of that. The second thing has to do with the drug use from Sherlock himself. We need to remember, again, it was the 1800s, late 1800s at that, and these things weren't illegal then. If a person so chose to use something like cocaine or something else, it was their right, and they could if they wanted to. For instance, Coca-Cola actually had cocaine in it in its early versions. That was sold en masse, and they used to give children cocaine to calm them down. We've addressed the bad things that I think really are bad things in that book, and let's focus on the rest now. The book opens up with Sherlock and Watson pretty well just relaxing, and Sherlock gets turned more into a living, breathing character. He ends up with a vice, cocaine. It actually describes his arm on the left side being needle tracked, which is kind of disturbing in a way. Watson kind of calls him out on it. He's like, you might be enjoying this, but what about your mind? You might want to think about that. That might not be such a good thing for you. Sherlock was in a pretty nasty state, thinking everything is drab and there's no reason for this. It's all existential. He was really in a funk, to be frank about it. But then in walks Mary. Yes, Mary, the first moving force of the book, and she has this dilemma. She keeps getting these magnificent pearls. She doesn't know where they're coming from, and also her father was probably killed, and she just wants to have some answers. That, of course, opens up to really a fairly good story. You've got multiple characters in this book. You've got a one-legged man that has a wooden leg. His accomplice is an individual that comes from an area that their race evolved slightly different than what we think of as normal, being that they are much, much smaller, but their bodies are absolutely normally proportioned except for their facial features and their feet. They are cannibalistic in nature, meaning that they don't care to eat themselves and rare meat and all that kind of a thing. And that kind of behavior is so much outside of the norm that the word savage is attached to it. And most people would think that would be savage if they saw somebody behaving in the way that they thought was socially acceptable, because that is their society. There are a few others that are mentioned as well. You've got the whole reason why the book is called The Sign of the Four. There was 4 convicts. Well, they were made convicts, although they really weren't convicts, that found a treasure, and we're going to split it 4 ways. But there was a problem. Somebody put them in jail so that they could get the treasure, and then that's really where the whole mystery and everything came from. Once Sherlock does get onto the trail of things, he and Mary and Watson end up meeting with Thaddeus Sholto, which is the son of Major Sholto. Eventually, they get drawn into a much bigger thing, so that all the answers come available. And of course, Sherlock does use his undeniably incredible at that time detective reasoning and deductive reasoning to figure out exactly what and where and how things had happened. The plot did thicken, as the pun goes, whenever Thaddeus ends up calling for Sherlock and Watson to show back up after their first meeting. Things have gone bad for his twin brother. The treasure has disappeared. I want to give a shout out to Toby. Does anybody remember Toby, the dog, sniffing out all the creosote? However, there is a very magnificent boat chase. There is the finding of the treasure, maybe. Maybe it got scattered out across the bed of the river. Who knows? And then there is also the resolution of everything, where the bad guy, of course, again, gives his side of the story and what had happened, and everything gets wrapped up in a nice, neat little bundle. It was a decent read. It was enjoyable. I can tell that in the second book, he was starting to get his legs on for walking this character about and making him come more to life than what he had been previously. So I'm kind of hoping that that's going to be a trend that continues and the books get better. They are classics, and I want to give the proper due respect to that fact that they are classics, and there's a lot of people that love these things. There are a couple other components to the book beyond just your simple whodunit and Sherlock trying to figure out what was going on. Now, really, for Sherlock, he doesn't have to much try to figure out these things, but a introduction of a love interest for Watson, being Mary. And I really enjoyed that interplay in between him and her, especially about the wealth and the treasure, and his main concern just being her versus her getting the money. It was quite endearing to see that he actually did care about her and that he was looking after her best interest. And it kind of goes the other way too, with her to him. The way their hands just kind of started seeking for each other, and the way they were enjoying each other's company, and the way that he started calling on her. And of course, it wouldn't be the same kind of story if we didn't have a small run-in with the Baker Street Irregulars. I kind of like these kids because, well, they go anywhere and everywhere, and they can be Sherlock's eyes. Then there's also Sherlock's disguising himself now. He didn't do that in the first book, but in the second one, he shows up as a little old man and starts screwing around with Watson and a detective that was there. And I am quite happy that Sherlock was able to get Thaddeus cleared of all charges and released. Personally, I kind of found the backstory between the one-legged man and his partner in crime, as it were. It was quite industrious of them to do what they did in order to make money. It was in that they had joined a traveling show in order to make money so that they could do what they needed to do when they got there. All in all, I wonder if that trap door wasn't in the roof, if things would have played out the same. What's your thoughts on it? Now, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And the next book I'm going to tackle will be, of course, the third one that Sir Arthur Doyle wrote, being The Hound of the Baskervilles. And that one was serialized. It didn't come out as one book, so we'll see how that goes. And, as always, I encourage you guys to discuss the book with me. Leave me a comment in that description down there, and I will read it and will respond to it. If you're new here and you're just joining the family, make sure that you subscribe. And, in the great words of Bruce Dickinson, ring the cowbell. Go ahead, explore the space, find that little bell, and click on it. Because nowadays, if you are subscribed and you don't have that, then you don't know when the next video comes out. If you guys happen to find a good book in between now and the next video, please let me know about it in the description, and I'll be happy to read it along with you. Beyond that, this is Shane with Shane's Books and Review. I hope that you guys have had a great day, and enjoy your weekend.